Hi guys, Simon Chiselian and welcome to the Lockdown Chronicles 4 Part 2. I just want to finish off from what I was saying from yesterday, various different things to take action on and to at least be aware of when you're in a lockdown situation. So the next thing I wanted to talk about was called medical, very important, especially if you have any underlying health conditions. You may need prescription drugs, in which case, now would be a really good time to stock up on those and get at least 3 months supply. And most pharmacies will actually do that. So make sure that you get all of those, and that's for every member of the family as well, because that's one thing that if there is a severe lockdown or a severe shortage, that's potentially life-threatening. So stock up on all forms of medications right now. It's really important that you get a first aid kit. That should be like 101. Make sure it's actually a comprehensive first aid kit. You're not going to need a medical bag which can have sutures and things like this unless you're actually medical trained. But most med kits that you find, most comprehensive ones, will have things like saline in and a lot more of the eye wash, stuff that you need in an emergency. So the best first aid kit that your budget will allow, make sure it's there. Don't just keep opening it and using it for small things. Okay, so you need to know what's in your kit so that you can access it at any point. Make sure that if you've got antibiotics, store them. They will become of great value in any type of disaster situation. They can be traded, they will be used, it will cure infection, and that's something that is really, really important. Pain relief as well. The worst thing you can get in situations like this is things like toothache, especially if you don't have access to dentists. It can actually make things really, really difficult. So make sure you get pain relief, Tylenol, aspirin, all of those type of things. Make sure that you have enough of them to go around. Also things like diarrhea pills as well. Should there be a problem with sanitation, that's one of the first things that happens. You're going to get like a deli belly or Egyptian stomach, whatever they want to call it. I don't know if that's racist these days, call it from there, but that's where it comes from, right? So when you do travel and you're not used to the sanitation, you're not used to the water, there are microbes there that even though the locals are quite immune to them, you're not. In a situation like this where most of us are actually used to good, clean, sanitized water, once that stops, if it stops, our body takes a long while to actually get some form of immunity against that stuff. So, just better to have them and not to need them than to need them and not to have them. The same way as electrolytes as well. Electrolyte salts really help. Just push those into your body, keeps the hydration going, and may just allow you to survive when other people may have problems. It's likely at some point you're going to get some form of constipation, which would be great because then you don't need the toilet paper as much. That's if you can get it. But constipation is going to be a thing. That can actually be really bad in a crisis. So again, fruit juice, prunes, things like this, just to keep the fiber going in the body, will allow that to pass through. Now, three things that you really should have in any what I call first aid kit is baking soda. Baking soda, look it up on the internet. There's tons of things that baking soda can be used for. The same as hydrogen peroxide is another staple for a medical kit. And vodka, believe it or not. Vodka is great as an antiseptic. It can be created for a whole bunch of things. And if you don't use it, well, you can drink it as well. So vodka, really, really important to actually have. Make sure you get a couple of bottles of that. Put them in plastic containers so you're not going to drop them or break it, but make sure that you get that stuff in your medical kit. I think it's always important as well for each person to have their own small medical kit. Put it into a small pouch, something that people actually have on them. Antiseptic ointment, Band-Aids, just eye wash, stuff like that. Just very easily you can carry it around. You don't then have to go and try and hunt through it through all the drawers. Make sure that all the stuff that you have is easily accessible. That's why it's a first aid. It's the first aid that you're going to be given. It's an emergency, and therefore you need to have your hands on it straight away. Next thing I wanted to talk about is communication. Okay, communication is vital during these times, and of course one of the big things that's happening right now is self-isolation and actually putting people into very, very small groups. I saw that Germany today is now restricting meetings to 2 people, and they have to be either work colleagues or in the same family unit. So the one thing about human beings from a psychological point of view, isolation takes down your immune system, and it makes you much easier and susceptible to stress. That's why we do it. That's why you have isolated lockdown as a punishment for prisoners. So just be aware of that. It's important that we communicate all the way through and receive communication and give communication. Okay, so receiving information means you can receive knowledge. So make sure you have the radio or the TV on all the time, on the news channels as well. Make sure you keep listening back. There may be some interesting stuff that comes about. It may be information on lockdowns, maybe information on where to get food, where to get medical assistance, all of these type of things. So it's important that you stay informed all the way through. Keep your phones charged at all time. Every time, just keep plugging them in. Make sure that if necessary, if you had to get out, if you had to go somewhere, you've got as much charge in your phone as possible. If you have these remote chargers that you can plug in, these high amp battery packs, great, then use them. I have a number of those. So I always want to remain fully charged and ready to be able to communicate. The internet is going to be both your friend and your enemy during this time. There's a lot of nonsense on the internet right now. There's a lot of fear mongering. There's a lot of conspiracy theories. Some of those conspiracy theories may well be true, but right now we just need to center on what is, not necessarily what could be. There's a multitude of things that could potentially happen, some good, some bad, some in between, but we really need to be concentrating on what is real in the now. That's the only thing that you actually have any control over. So just make sure that you use the internet to be able to learn. I mean, there's so much stuff on there. On YouTube, you could actually learn a language. You could actually learn how to suture a wound. All of this stuff is available to you. So in this world of social media, we can use it to best advantage, not to tattletale and to put hate on people, but to just check in on people to make sure that they know that they're valued by you. Okay, so you start to use your social media in a far more positive way, as opposed to a lot of the negatives that we're all aware of. Okay, so we don't need to be seeing pictures of your food and your cat anymore. We need aspects of support, because a lot of people are going to start to feel very, very alone. And with that comes despair, and with that comes suicidal thoughts and all of that. So do check in, and that's one of the next thing I'll have on my list is create a buddy system. Okay, create a buddy system of about 8 or 9 people that you can check in on every day, so that you get used to it as a discipline. Just checking in, say, hey, are you okay? Not everyone is going to fall over at the same time. Okay, so it's not going to be a pity party. It's not going to be a case of everyone dragging each other down. But what you usually find is that some people have up days, some people have down days. Those with the up days can actually encourage the people having the down days. And together we all rise at that point. So that's the most important thing I feel about having some form of buddy system. Get in touch with the family. Make sure that you're checking in. If you have problems, and those problems when they're shared actually become usually problems solved. So do that. Check on your neighbours as well. Your neighbours are going to be a really useful resource for you at this point, because they may have assets that you don't, and vice versa. They're also a buffer zone. So if you're having like a neighbourhood watch, if things start going south, your neighbours are going to be the first people to alert you to that fact. And then this is why society is like it is. It bands together in small teams, small hunting parties, in order to be able to help the all survive. Divided we will fall, united we will stand, and that's just a fact of life. So get to know your neighbours at this point. Let's see if we can't get some element of community out of this and some good stuff going. I spent years and years not even knowing who my neighbours were. I've already made all the contacts here in this street where I live. A lot of them are elderly, a lot of them are going to need some support as we move forward. And use that as that neighborhood watch as your security system. Okay, so you'll get information way before things happen that allows you to prepare, it allows you to potentially bug out, it allows you to defend, it allows you to do a whole thing. So it gives you choice, it gives you information which allows you to make good choices, which allows you to then take the correct action as we were talking about before. And if you can actually have clear choices based on clear intelligence and information and making the best actions that you can actually take, you will survive this, you will get through this. So there you go. In the next video I'm going to talk about is actually creating a bug out kit, because at some point your position may be untenable. Okay, so it may be through a potential martial law or a potential edict to move people on. It could be social disorder. It could be fires, it could be floods, it could be anything. Okay, so there are a number of reasons at some point why, as I said before, you need an exit plan. And for that, you need to be prepared for that. You need to be prepared to up sticks and go with your pets, with your family, and to get to a safer location. And that may be government run. It may be just getting out into the sticks and getting away from the madness. So I'm going to go through that in the next video and show you how to make a bug out kit. And see where we go from there. Okay, so that's what I wanted to do this morning. Later on I'll do the other video. So I hope you're well. Keep your spirits up. We will get through this. You will make those decisions in order to be able to get through. That's what we all need to do. So be the example that other people look to, for that positive leadership, because that's what we need right now. The biggest currency that you can actually have in this world right now is cool, calm, informed leadership. That is going to be worth more than gold, silver, precious gems, or toilet paper. Okay, so be the leader. This is Simon Giselian, out to you.